In our headlines on this Monday, October 28th, here in South Korea. South Korean delegates are poised to brief NATO authorities on North Korean troop deployment to Russia for training to potentially support the Kremlin's military aggression against Kyiv. In neighboring Japan, Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's ruling coalition loses its parliamentary majority during a snap election this past weekend, rendering uncertain the country's future political course. And over in the Middle East, active shuttle diplomacy continues as mediators seek a ceasefire deal against the war between Israel and Hamas, while the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah persists. A South Korean delegation is poised to share with NATO its intelligence regarding Russia's enlisting of North Korean soldiers who Ukraine claims are being stationed on the war front. Our Kim Jong-sil starts us off.
Tensions are rising as new intelligence from Ukraine suggests that North Korean soldiers are being deployed to Russia's Kursk region to assist Moscow's military efforts there. According to the Kyiv Independent, Ukraine's military intelligence agency reported on Sunday that Russia is transporting North Korean soldiers using trucks with civilian license plates based on intercepted radio communications from Russian military officials. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a video address posted on X, warned that North Korean troops may join the battlefield in a matter of days, adding that Ukraine could soon be forced to fight North Korean troops in Europe. According to the Wall Street Journal, the 3,000 North Korean soldiers being sent to the front lines are described as young, likely in their late teens or early 20s. The report also noted that the soldiers appear relatively short and slightly built, reflecting widespread malnourishment across the regime. When asked about the humanitarian concerns surrounding this deployment, Seoul's Ministry of Unification said on Monday that it is closely monitoring the situation. On the same day, a high-level government delegation, including defense and intelligence officials from South Korea, is set to brief NATO and EU member states in Brussels. The delegation aims to provide NATO and the EU with critical updates on North Korean troop movements in Russia. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
And come Thursday this week over in Washington, D.C., top defense and diplomatic officials from South Korea and the U.S. will sit down to discuss North Korean troop deployment to Russia. According to the Foreign Ministry here, Minister Cho Tae-yeol and Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun will meet with their U.S. counterparts Antony Blinken and Lloyd Austin, respectively. This upcoming meeting is the first in some 3 years following the last such interaction back in the year 2021. On the agenda is a possible response to the military cooperation between North Korea and Russia amid the latter's war in Ukraine. And North Korea has reaffirmed its accusations of drone intrusions by South Korea into Pyongyang earlier this month. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung has the latest.
The drone took off from South Korea's Baengnyeong-do Island and intruded into North Korea's airspace. This is North Korea's analysis of how the unmanned aerial vehicle that Pyongyang accused South Korea of sending this month crashed in its capital. According to the Korean Central News Agency on Monday, the regime's defense ministry analyzed the flight control program from the debris it retrieved. It claimed the drone took off from the South Korean border island at 11:25 p.m. on October 8th and scattered anti-North Korea leaflets over areas between its foreign ministry building and Seungri Metro Station at 1:32 a.m., as well as the defense ministry building at 1:35 a.m. on October 9th. North Korea has even unveiled an image of what it claims to be the drone's flight route. The KCNA added that among the 238 flight plans and logs of the drone that were recorded from early June 2023 to early October 2024, all flight data, except for the one on October 8th, showed the drone was flying in South Korean territory. Meanwhile, the North Korean leader's sister Kim Yo-jong issued a statement that indicated her irritation over South Korea sticking to its stance of neither confirming nor denying it had sent drones. While imagining a situation where an unidentified drone flew over Seoul and scattered anti-President Yoon Suk-yeol leaflets, She said the regime would like to see, quote, how the dirty stray dogs in Seoul bark if the regime issued a similar response. Regarding this, the South Korean military said it would take measures accordingly.
If a drone infiltrates, we'll take corresponding countermeasures and take the appropriate action to protect the safety and property of our citizens. As we have warned several times already, the military is prepared and will respond with an appropriate level of readiness.
Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
In other news, an intergovernmental organization, the Financial Action Task Force, has upgraded South Korea's international standard compliance evaluation grade to the highest rating. The upgrade follows an annual meeting of the task force at the headquarters of the OECD last week. The latest revision means South Korea goes from being a country that requires strengthened follow-up inspection to a regular follow-up inspection. North Korea, meanwhile, has been designated as a country with a high risk of money laundering and terrorist financing for the 14th straight year. We are counting down 8 days to the U.S. presidential election, and new polls show Democratic nominee Kamala Harris standing slightly ahead of a Republican counterpart, Donald Trump. Our Ian reports.
Turnout is key to the 2024 U.S. presidential election as the race remains neck and neck, with poll results among registered voters nationally showing a percentage point gap within the margin of error. In the latest polls released on Sunday, ABC News Ipsos shows Harris to have an advantage of 4 points among likely voters, 51 to 47%, indicating that the gap has widened since an October poll showed the incumbent vice president leading with 50% compared to Trump's 48%. But while the CBS YouGov survey also says Harris is ahead, it is by 1 percentage point, 50 to 49% against Trump. That gap has tightened from Harris's lead of 3 percentage points in October. Harris on Sunday encouraged young first-time voters during a campaign rally in Philadelphia. She highlighted that there were only 9 days left in what she called one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime.
And we must not wake up the day after the election and have any regrets about what we could have done in these next 9 days. So let's spend these next 9 days knowing we did everything we could.
On Sunday, after attending church services, Harris visited a barbershop, a bookstore, a Puerto Rican restaurant, and a youth basketball facility. The battleground state is home to a large community of Puerto Rican voters, and Harris took to social media on the same day, vowing to launch a new Puerto Rico Opportunity Economy Task Force if she wins the presidency. Meanwhile, during Trump's pre-show lineup for his campaign rally in Madison Square Garden in his hometown of New York City, some speakers threw insults at Harris, Hillary Clinton, illegal immigrants, and the island of Puerto Rico, which one comedian referred to as a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean. During that rally, Trump added a new proposal for a tax credit for family caregivers to his list of tax cuts to win over older adults and blue-collar workers.
And I'm announcing a new policy today that I will support a tax credit for family caregivers who take care of a parent or a loved one. It's about time that they were recognized, right?
On Tuesday, Harris will be in Washington, D.C. to deliver her closing argument speech against Trump, while Trump heads to Allentown, where more than half of the population is Hispanic, with the majority of them from Puerto Rico. Ian Jin, Arirang News.
In neighboring Japan, a snap election this past weekend is looking to have a profound impact on Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's ruling coalition as it loses its parliamentary majority. Our Ising-jae has details.
The Liberal Democratic Party and its junior coalition partner party, Komeito, had the majority in Japan's lower house, securing 288 seats before Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba dissolved Japan's House of Representatives earlier this month. With the general election taking place on Sunday, an exit poll by NHK shows that the LDP-Komeito coalition is set to lose its majority for the first time in 15 years. The coalition is expected to secure just 215 seats out of the 465 lower house seats, short of the 233 seats needed for a majority. Meanwhile, the main opposition Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan is projected to have gained a significant number of seats, going from 98 seats to 148. The projection also saw smaller parties gaining seats. The leader of the main opposition party, Yoshihiko Noda, said the loss of the lower house majority by the LDP and its coalition partner was a huge achievement, saying that the country is on the eve of a change of government. With the loss of a majority, the Yeshiva administration may struggle to form a government. Pundits say in order to remain in power, the LDP could try to bring other parties to its coalition or simply try to rule with a minority government. Both options, they say, could put Yeshiva's position as prime minister in jeopardy. The LDP has seen its public support decline significantly since a money scandal in late 2023, on top of increasing living costs in the country and a weakening yen. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In the Middle East, active shuttle diplomacy continues as mediators seek a ceasefire deal against the war between Israel and Hamas. Our Ian covers the latest efforts.
Negotiations to advance a ceasefire deal in the Israel-Gaza conflict have resumed in Qatar. According to reports, CIA Director William Burns and the head of Israeli intelligence service Mossad arrived in Doha to meet with Qatar's prime minister to discuss a hostage release deal. On the same day, Egypt publicly proposed a 2-day ceasefire, during which 4 Israeli hostages in Gaza would be exchanged for Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails, followed by more negotiations within 10 days aiming for a complete ceasefire. On Saturday, the Israel Defense Forces announced that it targeted aerial defense systems and missile manufacturing facilities in Iran in retaliation for Iranian attacks on October 1st. Iranian state media reported that around 5 people were killed in the strikes, including 1 civilian. In what other countries, including the U.S., hope will be the end of hostile exchanges, Israel's prime minister said that the strikes severely harmed Iran and that Israel had achieved all of its goals. Meanwhile, Iran's supreme leader commented that the attack should neither be exaggerated nor downplayed, but he did not call for retaliation. Hezbollah and Israel continued to exchange attacks on Sunday, with Hezbollah announcing a strike on a military site in Israel's northern coastal city of Haifa. They also issued a civilian evacuation order for border areas, marking the first such directive by Hezbollah since the conflict began. According to Israeli sources, some of the 75 rockets fired from Lebanon were intercepted, but a 57-year-old woman was seriously injured. On the same day, the Israeli military ordered civilians in 14 villages in southern Lebanon to evacuate north before launching airstrikes. The Lebanese Health Ministry reported that at least 21 people were killed on Sunday in Israeli strikes on 3 different areas in southern Lebanon. Ian Hee, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in light of Israel's retaliatory strikes against Iran this past Saturday, the top office here convened an emergency meeting to address the safety of South Korean nationals in the region. On Sunday, Principal Deputy National Security Advisor Kim Tae-hyo and Chief of Staff for Policy Sung Tae-yoon co-chaired a meeting with officials from related ministries. The meeting touched upon evacuation procedures in the event of heightened security concerns in the region and preemptive measures to ensure safety. With regard to the potential economic repercussions of the latest raid by Israel on Iran, participants spoke of limited impact for now, but vowed to maintain their 24-hour monitoring mechanism on financial and commodity markets. More than 100 civilians in a Sudanese village were killed by the paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces this past Friday. According to the country's network of doctors, at least 124 people have been killed and 200 injured in Al-Sariha, a village south of Sudan's capital, Khartoum. Activists believe the actual number of casualties may be, quote, significantly higher, and if confirmed, this latest atrocity by Rapid Support Forces marks one of the more shocking assaults in Sudan's ongoing civil war. The civil war between the Rapid Support Forces and the military government of Sudan, known as the Sudanese Armed Forces, has led to tens of thousands of deaths since it began in April last year. The ruling and main opposition parties have launched a joint consultative group early on this Monday to promote pledges related to public livelihoods made during the April general election. The launch comes some 2 months after the first official talks between the leaders of the two political parties, during which they agreed to set up such a body. Discussions will include better support for small business owners as well as that for the chip and AI sectors. Also, given the shared concerns over the low birth rate and rapidly aging society, the Parliament is poised to note some tangible progress during its regular session in November. Eco-friendly consumption patterns are helping Korean consumers to keep a tight grip on their purse strings. Our Cha Yun-kyung explains.
When people bring their own cups or containers, they get some discounts or receive membership benefits at various coffee shops and beverage retailers. Consumers are giving favorable responses since they can save money and go green at the same time. Convenience stores are also welcoming personal cups by setting up washing facilities, allowing consumers to wash their cups easily and fill them up with new drinks. People can get additional discounts of 300 Korean won when they make coffee using their own containers. Sales from a franchise convenience store offering this in 2022 more than doubled compared to the previous year. Sales also increased by 46.1% as of the third quarter of this year and are still rising. In the convenience store, there is a cleaner refill station where people can get refills of cleaning fluids by bringing their own containers. Consumers can refill laundry detergent and washing up liquid made from eco-friendly plant materials. Sterilizers have also been set up for hygiene management of containers.
At the cleaner refill station, consumers can refill cleaners with a discount of around 20% from the market price.
Gaeang district of Incheon have set up a battery exchange service, switching around 20 waste batteries for one new one. The service will start to expand gradually. Eco-friendly consumption can start from where we're at. Cha Yun-kyung, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. In Mexico, a bus crash on a highway in the country's central state of Zacatecas killed at least 19 and injured 6 others on Saturday. The passenger bus, which was traveling to the Mexico-US border city of Juarez, collided with the back of a tractor-trailer carrying corn that had become loose before rolling and falling into a ravine under the highway. The State Attorney General's office said that it was carrying out investigations to arrest the driver of the tractor-trailer. Mexico's National Guard and the Army were involved in the recovery operation to retrieve the remains of the victims. U.S. President Joe Biden formally apologized to the Native American community on Friday for the U.S. government-run boarding school system that physically, emotionally, and sexually abused hundreds of Native American children. An apology Biden called long overdue made him the first U.S. president to issue an apology for the program, which lasted for 150 years before it was shut down in 1969. Biden described the abuse that happened at boarding schools, which were intended to assimilate American Indian, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian children, as a blot on American history, while calling it a sin on our soul. According to an Interior Department investigation, at least 973 Native American children died in these schools. Taiwan celebrated diversity in one of East Asia's largest pride parades on Saturday, with over 180,000 people filling the streets of central Taipei. Marking the 22nd annual parade this year, participants from Taiwan and around the world were seen marching in rainbow-colored clothing to celebrate and raise awareness of LGBTQ+ rights. Taiwan has built a reputation as one of Asia's most gender-inclusive countries after it legalized same-sex marriage in 2019, which was a first for Asia. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
During the day, the whole country rose to around 20 degrees Celsius, which was cool. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy across the country, but on Wednesday, clear skies will return. However, there are huge daily temperature differences, so please take care of your health. The expected amount of rain is as much as 30 millimeters in the eastern parts of Gangwon-do province and 5 to 10 in the coastal areas of the Gyeongsang-do provinces and Jeollanam-do province. You should be careful with strong winds of around 15 meters per second in these areas. Rain will stop tonight or tomorrow morning, and Jeju Island will receive up to 40 millimeters of rain between tomorrow dawn and afternoon. Tomorrow, Daejeon and Daegu will start off at 12 degrees, Gwangju 14 degrees. Highs will move up to 20 degrees in Daejeon, Gwangju, and Daegu, Busan and Jeju 23 degrees. This week, inland areas are expected to be clear without rain. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up now is our daily panel session.